Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VI. We're currently in the World of Ruin version of Figaro Castle, which doesn't look all that different from when we were here in the World of Balance, but it's been a while since we were here. And we trailed a bandit leader who goes by the name of Gerad down here. And honestly, it's the most transparent alias that there has ever been. It's clearly Edgar. His name is an anagram for Edgar. Our goal is to get Edgar back in the party, so we followed him down here. Why he's leading a group of bandits who escaped from the Figaro Castle dungeon while the whole apocalypse was going on, why he's leading them and going by this alias, that's something left to us to find out in a little bit. In the meantime, this isn't really a proper dungeon. It's pretty short, and it's populated with the same enemies that we fought leading up to this point. The enemies we encountered last episode in the caves. Namely the crawlers, the Dantes, the Humpties, the neck cutters. It's the same, it's, I think, the identical enemy set. And among them, the only one really of note are the neck cutters because they're a little sturdy. We're gonna put Kate Sith on Sabin so he can learn float. Now that we have access to Vanish and Banish. The other thing about the neck cutters that I think we may have seen before, but if not, well, I'm sure at some point we're gonna find out. They have the only dangerous ability, and even then, it's only mildly dangerous. They have Mad Sickle, something like that, which causes the confusion status. Yeah, Mad Sickle, there we go. Oh, that fire is gonna hit Celeste. Yup, called it. Well, hopefully the second Aura Cannon, or well, the Aura Cannon plus the Rising Phoenix is enough to... Okay, cool. We're okay. Still gonna force us to burn high potions, just for that one turn confuse. So, as I was saying, this is kind of a mini dungeon. It doesn't have a lot to explore, but there are a couple of treasure chests down here. Mainly, we want to work our way along the right side, clear that out, work over to the left, where we get that royal crown, and then once we get all that, we can come back to the side we started on, and go up this middle path. So down the middle is where Gerad and the 40 Thieves went. And once we hit this room, this is the engine room. I don't think we've been here. We've heard about it. Because, of course, Figaro Castle is submersible. It can go under the sand and travel around the continent. But there's something mucking up the engine room, preventing us from traveling. So the rest of the thieves are going to be set ahead to the treasure room, leaving only Sabin Celeste and... finally, Edgar. So Edgar does indeed not have amnesia. He was putting on an act. Why? That actually relates to all this bullshit. This is a boss fight against 4 tentacles. We're going to start off by casting Death on the one in the lower left. And make sure that hits. It has a pretty good success rate. The tentacle boss here is really weird, because all of the tentacles are slightly different even though you can't see it and they all share the same name. They each absorb different elements, they're immune to different status effects, and in the case of the lower left tentacle that we killed, that's the only one vulnerable to death. And it also absorbs poison, whereas the rest are vulnerable to it, so next time Edgar's turn comes up, he's gonna... Damn! Would snatch Edgar up. Either way, once he gets loose, he's gonna bioblast all of them and inflict poison. Other than that, they're just kind of sturdy. They have some status effects, but they're not all that dangerous, to be honest. Like, you see Edgar being wrapped up and occasionally dotted for like 60 damage at a time. So let's go ahead and bioblast. The only thing they can really do is delay the inevitable. I think the top left one might absorb ice. The rest of them are weak to it. And the remaining tentacles, after we cast Death on the one, they do a couple of things worth noting, I guess. One of them can bio, and bio is just a really strong version of the poison spell with some initial damage tacked on, and the other one is that grab that you've seen that incapacitates a party member and does very slight damage to them until they're released. You can cast slow on them, and that will decrease the number of ticks of damage that a party member takes, but it's really not worth it, just because the damage is so low. And now that we have an idea of what we're fighting and where we're fighting it in, it's pretty clear why Edgar wanted to come down here. Edgar wanted to make his way to his home in Figaro Castle just to come and clear out the engine room so that we can get moving. Not really sure there's Bio. Not sure the pretense was necessary, but it got him here. It got him here undetected at that. Maybe he was afraid that if Kefka found out that he was running about, he would just bring down the light of judgment everywhere in an attempt to kill Edgar. Certainly a valid concern. Either way, we've made it here. We've reunited with Edgar. We've cleared out the engine room, most importantly of all. And the thieves even left one thing for us up ahead. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of going through it without, I feel like, being direct about his motives, but yeah, I think you can infer plenty. Oh, and the thieves are coming back out. Now remember, their last boss did not last very long. They only adopted Gerad as a leader recently after I think the Sandworm ate their last one. Wasn't even much of a monster. Oh well. I've taught you well, my treacherous gang. Yeah, so the treasure that they stole really wasn't very important to Edgar. Just making Figaro Castle mobile once again, that was the end game. I believe there's actually more Sabin-specific dialogue with Edgar at this point. Well, I think I'm still... Oh yeah, I'm still under the effects of poison from the bio. Whoops! There's some more Sabin-Edgar specific dialogue for this point in the game, but I think it was cut out, but it still exists somewhere in the game's code. And we get a Soul Saber from that statue. Because it's not in a treasure chest, and the 4 thieves are too stupid to check anything but big obvious chests. So now, all we have to do is get off of this floor, and we're more or less out of this dungeon. And then we can go back up to our friend in the I've been calling it the engine room all this time. The guy up in... I don't know what you would actually call that. The pilot? The seat of the castle? Either way, we can go ask him to take us away, since we have unmucked the engine room. Oh wait, we might still be in the danger zone until we get up the stairs. Okay, cool. No more random battles. Basement 1. Basement 1 is the spot from which our buddy pilots Figaro Castle. It's been stuck under the sand. I guess maybe the bandits had told Gerad about this secret entrance into the submerged castle, which is probably why he needed them. But we're gonna resubmerge now. The engine is totally fine, and we can take it to... The only spot they offer to take us is to Collagen again. So since that's the only place we can travel, the game is kind of railroading us to one spot. Remember, Edgar is another one of the plot-critical characters that we actually have to pick up to progress the game. So if it's telling us to go to Collagen, we should probably take them up on that offer. And I think that is the upper town. Moose! Oh, it's a flan. Let's see. Does Aura Cannon work on these? I can't remember. No, it does not. But I guarantee a chainsaw does. Yeah. Magic bad, chainsaw good. And if we're lucky... yeah, we're lucky. We did it. No second random battle. Beautiful days will never return. Oh, unsolicited flashback. Cool flashback, bro. And hey, a Narsh guard. Narsh is filled with monsters now. What a fucking pointless flashback. Before we address the elephant in the inn, let's take a rest. We worked really hard down in the caves and in Figaro Castle. Worked real hard. Had to clear out a tentacle infestation. Now, hey there, Setzer, what's up? It's been a while since we've seen Setzer. Maybe not my favorite, but we'll take any fourth party member we can get at this point. It's actually a really good thing that we went off and did Sabin's side quest before coming here, because otherwise we would be heading into a fairly hard dungeon with 3 people instead of 4. And remember, we only have to get Celeste, Edgar, and Setzer. So we could continue on this path and go right into the endgame right after this plot necessary part with Setzer. So Celeste is giving him a little bit of a pep talk. Since, right before the world went to shit, it took Setzer's airship, the Blackjack, with him. With it. Cracked that thing right in half like the Titanic. But he's getting his motivation back, so he proposes that we visit Daryl's tomb. We'll be learning a little bit more about Daryl at the end of the upcoming dungeon. We're gonna get us another pair of wings. Yeah. So this is why Setzer is one of the necessary characters to pick up. Why you cannot progress the game without him. Because he's the one who gives us access to not only the first airship we got in the game, but also the second one as well. Let's optimize some of this. Actually, surprised. Oh, it didn't start him with relics. It did start him with his equipment. So let's give you. I don't think the Genji glove is worth giving him. Why don't we give you a hyper wrist and something? I don't know. The black belt, or yeah, the black belt. And then we just have to deck Setzer out, make sure that he's in the back row. The back row is such a no-brainer in FF6 because you so rarely use the attack command. Like, almost all of the different job skills or magic commands, it makes it so it's very rare that you find yourself using the attack command. Ironically, we're going to be using the attack command with Sabin for an upcoming boss. It's actually going to be one of the rarer situations in which his attack command plus a Genji glove is going to be better than just spamming Aura Cannon or Suplex. just because of the way certain elemental resistances work. Before we exit the town, let's take a quick look around and talk to some of the townspeople. Still some people left with vision. Oh yeah. An older man with a quaint way of talking visited our town recently. Apparently he went to Miranda. And there's a real scary guy fighting at the Coliseum. Oh, hey. So we hear about a knight from Miranda, probably Cyan. And apparently that crazy old man from up north finally got his Coliseum built. Sometime in the past year. This is how you used to have to figure stuff out in RPGs. Come to a town, just talk to everybody, and hope they give you the right hints to set you on your merry way. And if it was a well-designed RPG like Final Fantasy VI, they do. They really, really do. They give you plenty of information. And we're gonna apply plenty of holy waters. Probably an excessive amount. But, I don't know, Gil is not a terribly limited resource. And we bought dozens of holy waters for the express purpose of countering almost every single enemy in the upcoming dungeon. Because all of them except one can cause the zombie status, and remedies do not cure zombie. Holy waters do. Ah, I got gunked. Okay, I thought that would stop for a sec. Nah, it's just slow. So now we're ready to make our way to the area that was highlighted for us before, right as we picked Setzer up. Just right over here. It's this tiny little spot. It's a tomb. It's Daryl's tomb, who was apparently a close friend of Setzer. He's being kind of reserved about details right now. Kind of guarded. Anyway, let's make our way into Daryl's tomb, basement 1. This, again, is not a huge dungeon, but it's quite a bit more elaborate compared to the one we were just in, which was the basement of Figaro Castle. Oh, starting out missing slots. There's a weapon for Setzer that changes his slot command into Gil Toss. And I could have picked it up somewhere before. Shit, where was it? I think it's one of the things I may have missed in the Sealed Gate Cavern. Which is a shame, because I like that quite a bit more than having to do slots. Oh boy! If you have any history with Final Fantasy whatsoever, you know Marlboros are bad news. They happen to be one of... the only enemy in the game, in the dungeon, rather, that cannot afflict you with zombie. However, they have bad breath that can afflict you with pretty much everything else. Scary. And they're the most durable enemies in the dungeon. For now, they're not too bad. Some incarnations of the Marlboro in Final Fantasy are fucking horrifying to run into. Like you remember in FF8, they were late game enemies. You fought them in the plains around Esther. And they were bad to run into. Hey, we got it again. Another prismatic flash for a couple thousand damage. It's a pretty effect too. 1500, not bad. Fire to finish it off. Most of the enemies in this dungeon are going to be at least somewhat fire weak. A lot of them are plant-based. I think some of them are undead, but not all. Definitely not the Marlboro. I think the other plant enemies we ran into don't count as undead, even though they can cast zombie status on you. So from here, we're gonna hop another turtle, take it across the moat. We also picked up a Genji helmet. I think it's just a helmet with decent stats on it. But fair enough if you think that's a helmet that lets you equip 2 other helmets, like the Genji glove is a relic that lets you equip 2 weapons. Fair play if you make that mistake. This is what you get if you don't get a full match of 3 different slots. You just get a little tiny group heal, and then every other one of the slots has a particular attack associated with it. All the chocobos do chocobo stampede, which I think is a multi-hitting chocobo rush move. We saw the prismatic flash for all the diamonds. If you get 3 bars, you do very high damage to everybody, including all enemies and your whole party. So, Kissy, Dolro. Oh, we're not gonna find out what the 3rd gibberish tombstone says. Not yet, anyway. So we have cleared the right side of the dungeon out. We're coming down the middle next, just to get into this room with all the tombstones. Also, I somehow prismatic flashed my own party. And Setzer's been zombified. Dope. We love that. We really don't. It's the worst. Oh, zombie status in 6 is one of my least favorite status ailments. I feel like by the time you get around to 7 somewhat, but definitely by 8 and 9, status effects become less of a big deal. Unless you're talking about, like, the endgame and the really optional stuff in 9. But, like, prior to that, status effects were a big fucking deal. And wet. Did you catch all of that? So let's go right back up the way we came, ignoring the watery path to the right down there. And then we're gonna go and clear out the left side of the dungeon. We did that for a reason. We get more prismatic flashes. We went and we looked at the inscriptions on all of the gravestones because we need that for a puzzle for a really good optional item that we get on the left side. So, in case you didn't catch all of that, the inscriptions read something like, Wet Ord Isk Ware. And if you read them all backwards, it reads, the world is square. And so we have to put them in that order. So the one that says, the W, backwards. Oh, Erau. But not yet. World Isk. And then it fills the last one in for you. The world is square. And once you inscribe that tombstone, you get Find the Growth Egg in the back of the 3rd floor basement. We actually, I think, need that hint. I don't think you can get into the room without having seen that. Either way, it was worth showing off how you actually get to this solution. These cold rates, like pretty much every other enemy in the dungeon, barring the Marble Rose, are capable of zombifying you. So anyway, let's come down here. There's another treasure chest. This is basement 3 that we were just referred to. Somewhere along here, there is an opening in the wall. And I'm not entirely sure, but I've tried to come down here before, prior to doing the whole tombstone inscription puzzle, and I have not been able to find the hidden compartment in the wall that lets you get into the next room. So I think it might be necessary. Otherwise, it's just really finicky to find and unlock. But if you keep rubbing your face along here long enough, you'll eventually get it. It's the best I can give you. It's, like I said, finicky. Yeah, that might not be necessary after all. It's just a pain in the ass to find this. Either way, showing the process off. God damn. There. It's like one tile too low. The growth egg. The growth egg is... I cannot overstate how good that relic is. Especially if you're going to do any amount of grinding. Even if you're not just having it on passively as you go through the game. Super fucking good. Because what the growth egg does, it's a relic that doubles the experience gain of a character. Doubles it. So good. Oh, we cannot pass further. Oh. Always wind up doing one thing out of sequence in this dungeon. So we can't pass any further there. And I think that might be important. Let me check real quick. Because that could just be some treasure, but I think it's a switch. I think it's a switch that opens this door. But because we already raised the water level, can't open that up yet. So we need to lower the water level again, go back to that room, hit the switch, and then come back here and then raise this water level. Which is luckily not too many steps. There are worse sequencing errors you can make in this dungeon that make it take quite a long time. So back to basement 3 on the left side, where we just got the growth egg. By hitting this switch, we'll open up the door up top, then we'll be able to progress. Goddamn zombie effect. If you just blitz them, it's not a problem. Sometimes you can't do it fast enough. Now we just have to take a couple of turtle rafts. I don't know how this has become a recurring mechanic. We hit that switch to re-raise the water level. And that's it. That's most of the dungeon done. All we have in front of us are boss fights. 2 of them, actually. One of them is up here, disguised as a monster in a box. And it's the angler whelk. I think this design is kind of cool with the head hanging onto the chest for dear life. We're gonna trivialize this. This is a much upgraded version of the Ymir fight, the first boss in the game, except we can do some fun stuff to him. First off, we start by casting Vanish on the shell. That looks real goofy. And next, we summon Kutoblapas. Because this Esper's special move is called Death's Eye. It only works on things that are vulnerable to death, and it causes Petrify, which against single enemies is death. And there you go. And we get 2 Dragon Claws by doing that. Beautiful. The Dragon Claws are really good holy weapons for Sabin. We're going to be using one of them pretty soon, and next up is a legitimately hard boss, so I'm going to take just a minute and get ready. Alright, we're ready to go. And as soon as I say that, on to the random battles. We're gonna get worn down a little bit right before the fight starts. It's no biggie though. This gives me a chance to actually... Is this gonna hit any of them? I feel like this attack is constantly missing. Oh, good. Wow. Phew. I think I jinxed myself. In a really positive way, though. Anyway, let's make our way up, because we still have one more boss fight left in the dungeon. Maneater. Not bad. Single Cold Wraith. It's not gonna do it. Especially not so long as Celeste has haste on her. That should be the last one, and... Ooh. Sabin learned a new blitz. I think that's Gale Cut. Not gonna come in handy right now. Here lies Daryl. In order to claim whatever was in Daryl's tomb, we have to go through Dullahan. Dullahan is more than capable of wiping you if you don't take him seriously. He's, I think 32,000 HP, and a lot of damage output. And thankfully, few status ailments, not that he needs them. He starts this fight off with level X Holy. The X in that takes into account the last digit of your gil counter. If one of your characters has a level cleanly divisible by the last digit of your gil, they eat the level X Holy, and you can see that it hurt a lot. From there, he spams single target Holy, single target Blizzaga, and multi-target Blizzara. Carbuncle would be really good here, except if any of your party has Reflect on, he puts a bunch of status ailments on you instead. And finally, his biggest fuck you is that every 8th hit that he takes, I think, he uses a bunch of nasty stuff that doesn't get absorbed by Celeste's runic ability. He chooses, like, from a pool of 3 abilities and uses 1. The absolute worst possible outcome is one called Northern Cross, because it can freeze several characters, and if one of them is Celeste, you lose out on the ability to runic, which means he starts being able to do massive damage to you. Ideally, he will just let loose an absolute 0 or something, which will only do a big burst of party-wide damage. That's the best case scenario. So the preparations I made, I swapped out the Hermes boots on Sabin for a Genji glove on him, and he's now using a Burning Fist plus one of the Dragon Claws we got. Ideally, I would have liked 2 Burning Fists here, but we have to make do. It's still probably gonna beat out Aura Cannon for damage output. I think my Aura Cannons top out at like 900 on him. And because he's weak to fire, the Burning Fist alone is doing a lot of damage, plus the follow-up Dragon Claw from even the back row for safety. It does a lot. The Hermes boots that I freed up from Sabin went to Celeste, because Dullahan's speed stat is super high. So you put Hermes boots on Celeste so she always has haste, so she can keep up and always put a runic up to absorb his spells. Holy, Blizzaga, and Blizzara can all be absorbed. That leaves him only capable of doing fairly weak physical attacks, which means Setzer can just be on cleanup duty. You can't have anyone casting Cure or Cura, because that will trigger Celeste's runic, but you can just have Setzer sit back and spot heal with some high potions, or an X potion if need be. And if everyone's nice and topped up, I would say above 1,000, yep, just absorb that. And a good crit, and we're good. We're done. We survived the nasty boss. Yeah, you can fit in some slots or attacks with Setzer if everybody's good, but you just want him on triage duty, basically. Whew, and that's the Dullahan fight. That can be a really tense one. He's very capable of wiping you, like I said. And we did get lucky enough to see Absolute Zero instead of Northern Cross. That one messes me up bad. You have to kind of think on your feet if that happens. Oh, and one last thing about Dullahan, who we just bought. May have mentioned this, but his speed stat is very, very high. And again, that's why we... Yeah, okay, I did mention that. That's why we traded the Hermes boots to Celeste. Because more than any other character, you want to make sure Celeste is able to keep up with him. Turn for turn. .99% of that fight is just figuring out how to shut him down and his damage output. If you can do that, you're golden, but it takes a little bit of thought and prep work. And as a result, Dullahan is actually one of my favorite bosses up to this point. Because he's not really a gimmicky fight, it's just straightforward and kind of tough. So this, we're finally learning a little bit about Daryl, who was a very close friend and a rival to Setzer. She was the fastest pilot. Outpaced even Setzer and the Blackjack. Now, up until now, the Blackjack has been the only airship that we've known about. I think a character very early in the game mentioned that it's the only airship in the world. And the character is half right. Because Daryl's ship, as we're finding out now, went down. She never came back. They parallel the Icarus myth pretty explicitly here. The wreck of the Falcon. Yeah, that was their ship, the Falcon. So as far as anybody else was concerned, Setzer's Blackjack was the only airship left in the world. Until now. We've come to her tomb, where the Falcon was wrecked, to repair it and get it moving again. And this is where we get another new overworld theme, and a new airship theme. This one is different from the theme we got in the Blackjack. This one is called, I think, Searching for Friends. Allowing us to assault Kefka's tower by air. So we could go to the endgame, we could start that right now. But we're not gonna. Because as Edgar rightfully points out, we should probably go find our friends first. And Celeste becomes fascinated by this dove. Or I think she winds up calling it a pigeon. Either way, that's a fast goddamn pigeon. She fixates on it, tells Setzer to follow the bird. For no discernible reason. Whatever, we'll follow her intuition. And then winds us setting us down. That winds up with us right outside. As soon as I can land. Oh boy, I'm without the airship for like an episode and a half, and I forget the airship controls. So yeah, the absence of the airship, that didn't last very long. We just got another one. Welcome addition to the crew. We wind up right outside of Miranda, where we know Cyan is. So that's gonna do it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one.